Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's Ann Barnhart. The reason why I'm here is actually a very bizarre story. I am unwittingly somewhat famous in certain circles, infamous in others. I don't know if you remember, but on Sunday, April 3rd, Lindsey Graham appeared on Meet the Press and said that basically he wanted to start enforcing Sharia law in this country. He wanted to keep people from criticizing the Koran and Islam, and the spur behind that was, I think the Terry Jones thing had just recently happened, and Graham, in the context of Jones, was saying that he wanted to be able to do something to push back against Americans and be able to punish outside of the law Americans who criticized Islam and did things like burn the Koran. I saw this, I actually read it, I didn't see it, I don't even have television, but I read the transcript of what he had said and was just livid, just absolutely livid. And this Lindsey Graham idiot, he's allegedly supposed to be a Republican. And here's this lawyer, this military lawyer who's also a Republican senator getting on television and saying, we need to start cutting back people's First Amendment rights to criticize Islam. Absolutely not. I was just infuriated. So that night I wrote up a script. I rebutted everything that he said sentence for sentence. And apparently I did it quite well because people on YouTube and on the internet really seemed to like it. And then what I did in the second part was I burned a Koran. But what I did is I took my Koran and, being the smart aleck that I am, I bookmarked it with strips of raw bacon, first of all. I had 17 Quranic citations that most people in this country have never read the Quran. They don't know what's in it. They're falling for this propaganda that it reads just like the Old Testament. It does not read just like the Old Testament. It's insane. It's the insane ramblings of a madman, and the concepts contained therein are satanic and evil to the core, and people out there have no idea what's in this book. So I went through, I just picked 17. I mean, there's thousands that I could have picked from, but I picked 17. I read them off, and then after I'd read it off, I tore the page out of the Quran, put it in a fire bowl, and conflagrated the thing. That's how I burned it. I didn't burn it in total. I burned it page by page, citation by citation. This is why we are burning this thing. And then what made it really forceful and powerful, and I think the reason why I'm famous, is the last thing I did at the end of my presentation was I gave my name, home address, and said, anybody who wants a piece of me, come and get it. Come and get it. I'm not doing this crap anymore. I am not bowing to Islam. It's either you or me. So, to our topic of Islam. There's a few, the main thrust of this presentation is sexuality inside of Islam, which again, people are completely ignorant about, and you've got to know. You've got to know. Okay? Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. Okay, so here we are. But there's a few concepts I want to cover first, because when you're out and people are speaking, or you're at church and maybe your pastor's very wishy-washy about all of this stuff, you have to be able to rebut these things. And not only do you have to be able to rebut them, but you have to be willing to stand up and do it. Be not nice, ruffle some feathers, rattle some cages. Because if you just sit there silent, silence is complicity. You have to stand up and testify and witness. First of all, Islam is not a religion. We have got to stop this. It is not constitutionally protected. It is not a religion. Islam is a totalitarian, expansionist, militaristic, seditious political system. It is not a religion. The religious aspect of it is a fraud. It is a planned out fraud on Muhammad's part, and ultimately I attribute all of it to Satan, because Satan is the father of all lies. It was planned this way. It's a totalitarian political system masquerading as a religion. We have to call this, because if we don't call this out, they will defeat us with our own constitution. And that was the plan. Satan had this plan going all the way back. He knew. He knew that this republic would exist. He knew that our Constitution would exist. He knew the First Amendment would exist. And he said, I'm going to destroy these people with their own rule book. So here is this totalitarian political system, and we're going to pretend it's a religion. It's a joke. It's not a religion. It's not the final, it's not associated with Judeo-Christianity. It is the ultimate bastardization and con on the Judeo-Christian milieu. Muhammad was out in the desert and he said, okay, I want to start a fake religion so I can raise an army, get rich, raise an army, and so I can get laid. Okay? I'm dead serious. Those are the three objectives. Enrich Muhammad, rally an army for Muhammad, and get Muhammad laid. How do I do this? Well, I'm going to say, and again, this is the early 600s, he said to himself, I'm going to claim that God is talking to me and that I am the final perfected revelation of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm just going to jump on that bandwagon. I'm going to jump on those coattails, and that's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to sneak into it that way. And then, you know, all these people who are around me, think of where he is. He's in what is now present-day Saudi Arabia. It's weird to think that there weren't any Muslims in the Middle East at one point, but you have to understand, it started in the 600s. Okay, so there were no Muslims there, of course. What is it? It's Jews, it's Christians, and it's Bedouin pagans. Okay, so he's jumping on this Judeo-Christian bandwagon, and he's also bringing in aspects of the Bedouin pagan theologies. Allah is the moon god of the Bedouin pagans. So he's taking all of these aspects of these things, bringing them in together and saying, oh, here I am. I'm the final perfected revelation of this. Join my army, fight for me, make me rich, and oh yeah, I'm also going to have sex with your wives and your little boys and your little girls. That's it. It's that simple. And if you would read the Koran, you would see what an absolute joke it is. There's nothing theologically deep there. There is no hardcore Islamic scholarship because there's nothing there. It is the rantings of a madman. He was nuts. You never hear Muslims talking about their relationship with Allah. Allah is never referred to as a father. There's no relationship the way that we have a relationship, of course, with our Savior Jesus Christ, or even the way the Jews had a relationship with God the Father. There's nothing like that there. It's shallow, it's stupid, it's ridiculous, and we'll get into that some more. So again, our three objectives of Islam: enrich Muhammad, rally an army, facilitate and legitimize his sexual perversions. And it did all three of those things. Arguing that Islam is constitutionally protected as a religion is like arguing that Nazism is a constitutionally protected religion. And you say, well, no, it's apples and oranges. No, it really isn't. If there are any students of World War II and of the Third Reich, if you've watched any of, for example, the Leni Riefenstahl propaganda films, Hitler was totally trying to morph Nazism into a religion to fill that void. All totalitarians are trying to fill the religious void because all people in their hearts are called to worship. If you take away real religion from people, they're going to want to fill that void with something else. These totalitarian states, they realize that they can use that to their benefit. So think about the Third Reich. Think about those torchlight rallies, the torchlight rally at Nuremberg, where there's just thousands and thousands of them marching in formation by torchlight with banners. And there's a clip on YouTube that you can look up. Who is it? Is it Hess? I think it's Hess introducing Hitler and literally reciting a creed. We believe in Adolf Hitler as our savior. The Third Reich is God the Father in essence. Hitler is God the Son, and the Nazi Party is the Holy Spirit. He was totally trying to drive into this. Think about the Soviet Union. Think about those parades they have. Huge parades of soldiers in formation, and then the tanks rolling down the street, and then there's Stalin or Khrushchev or whoever it is up on the dais waving at everybody. That's liturgy. They are trying to create a liturgy. Look at North Korea, same exact thing. They literally, those people are called to worship Kim Jong-il as God. This is not uncommon. This dynamic of trying to turn totalitarian political systems into religious dynamics, it's universal across the board. This is nothing new, and you could argue that the communists, the Marxists, the Nazis, et cetera, they got the playbook from Islam. Islam was first. Islam is the 600s, okay? This is constantly going on. So yeah, this is a very true statement. If you're arguing that Islam is constitutionally protected, that's like arguing that Nazism is constitutionally protected as a religion. Can you imagine? Can you imagine 1942 and having tribes of Nazis setting up meeting halls and us just letting them do it? Letting them organize, letting them set up basically de facto forts on our territory. And them saying, well, no, you can't do anything because we're a religion. We worship the Aryan God or something like that. And all of us in America sitting here going, oh, okay, that's fine. That is exactly what we are doing right now. Exactly. So you have to understand this, and you have to correct this in person or online. If you get on Lucienne or American Thinker or wherever you go, if you post, if you see people talking about Islam as a religion, you correct them. And it's getting better. People are now talking more and more and more about the fact that, hey, wait, this isn't a religion. But you've got to be out there, and we've got to be shaping this conversation and getting the truth out there. Because if we don't, we'll lose the propaganda war. All political cults co-opt liturgical rubrics in order to legitimize themselves and fulfill the human desire for worship. And as I said earlier, with our First Amendment, you've got a whole nother completely dangerous dynamic going there, where these people really are going to try to argue that they are protected by our government and our legal system. Can't let them do it. Islam is seditious against every nation and government on earth. Islam demands that all Muslims work to overthrow all nations, governments, and non-Sharia laws. Muslims should be thrown out of this country. They should be arrested and thrown out of this country because they are, by definition, engaging in sedition. Sharia law is sedition against the Constitution of the United States. They should all be deported. All of them. And the one moral qualm I have with that is the women and children. I mean, you know that they'd like to get out of it. What do? I don't know what the solution is, but we need to start talking about this and having this conversation. Again, reference World War II. Are you going to tolerate having Nazis, German Nazis, operating in the United States during World War II? Of course not. Why in the world would you tolerate this, much less facilitate it? I will also take it a step further. If the time comes when sanity is restored to this nation, these politicians who are facilitating this, who are facilitating the spread of Islam in this country, they need to be arrested. They need to be tried for treason and sedition, because that is what they are doing. It's treason. Yeah. All Muslims must be ejected from the United States military immediately. You do not have Nazis as officers or enlisted men or anything in the United States military during World War II. If there's even a question of anybody's loyalty, they're out. And yes, I'll bring it up. We took care of this problem with the Japanese too. There were issues of loyalty. We couldn't know. It could have been handled better, but we got after it. We are not going to let seditious traitors who subscribe to a totalitarian political system hell-bent on overthrowing our nation join our military. They are spies. They are spies, and they are murderers. And we just sit and let this happen. Having Muslims in our military is like having Nazis in our military during World War II. Keep making that point. Keep making that point. Make people understand this. Well, that's not nice. I don't give a crap if it's nice. They are trying to kill us all and destroy our country. Yes. Nice can go to hell because it's Satan's tool. Nice is Satan's tool. Man up. A couple of memes that Muslims use that you have to be able to understand and refute. Number one, Islam is peace. You hear that all the time, right? Oh, Islam is peace. Islam is peace. the peace referred to in this statement is the peace that will come after the entire world has been completely conquered by Islam and all infidels have been executed. Then there will be peace. That's what they're talking about, the fork-tongued SOBs. They're playing us. It's takia, it's manipulation, it's lying. They're playing on our ignorance. And these fools out here hear this and, oh, Islam is peace. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, idiots. Idiots. 3 minutes worth of web surfing, you understand this. And these people out here can't even be bothered to do that. With their self-serving, holier than thou, self-righteous, I'm tolerant. Tolerant of what? Tolerant of evil? If you're tolerant of evil, you can go to hell. That's what I say. Get out of my country. Another meme that they use, Islam never kills innocent people. Well, that's interesting. Islam teaches that all infidels are guilty of apostasy. Do we know what apostasy means? It means leaving a religion. Okay, there can be apostates from any religion. Apostates from Islam, what is the penalty for apostasy from Islam? Death. All people, according to Islam, all people are born Muslim, and any who are not Muslims are apostates, including children and infants. Infants. An infant who is the child of infidel parents is an apostate and is worthy of murder. So when you hear this crap, well, we don't kill innocent people, now you come back at them. Well, according to you, I'm guilty. And I always will be guilty until I get down on my knees and surrender to Islam. Well, it'll be a cold day in hell. You want to kill me? You're going to have to kill me. If you want the entire world overrun with Islam, you're going to have to come through me, because I will never, ever bow, ever, to anyone, as our prayer said. We will never bow to anyone except Jesus Christ, ever.
Amen.
Okay, now to the point at hand, Islamic sexuality. Guys, it is pure evil. There is nothing about sexuality in Islamic culture that is in any way good or redeeming at all. It is top to bottom, so completely inside out and thoroughly evil, there aren't even words to describe it. And you can see why their cultures are just so awful, and why those people are so despairing and so suicidal, because this issue is just, there aren't even words to describe how bad it is. This is going to get graphic, but you have to see this. You have to understand this. Number one, in Islam, women are subhuman animals, deficient in intelligence, and damned to hell. Okay, we've got a problem here right off the bat. Okay, how are you going to have a loving marriage and a loving relationship if you consider one of the partners to be intrinsically evil, subhuman, and in some cases, sub-animal? They value cattle and livestock more than women, because cattle and livestock have, intrinsic monetary value. A woman is just considered to be nothing but a financial drain. Okay, and they teach their little boys this from the time they're teeny tiny. I've known people up in Canada that have adopted black Muslim children out of East Africa, little teeny tiny boys. They had to give them back, and this is a huge problem in Canada. They had to dump them on the social services agency in Canada because the father was literally terrified that those boys were going to kill his wife. Little 4- and 5-year-old boys taught to hate women with such a viciousness that that grown men literally feared a 4- or 5-year-old boy killing his wife. And this, like I said, this is very common up in Canada. Down here in the U.S., kind of the fad in adoption is China, right? You see a lot of people adopting Chinese children. Up in Canada, they're adopting out of the Horn of Africa, which is Muslim. Terrible problems with this, just terrible. It's awful. Deficient in intelligence and damned to hell. I mean, that speaks for itself. So you've got the foundation of massive sexual disorder just laid right there. Koran verse 223, you might want to jot these down. You can look all this up online. Women are your fields. Go then into your fields whence you please. Really? That's what you think of your wife, huh? Just a field to be plowed. And we all know that imagery. I don't think so. Here's Koran 282. You probably can't see this. I'll read it for you. Once Allah's apostle said to a group of women, "Give alms, as I have seen that the majority of the dwellers of hellfire were you women. I have not seen anyone more deficient in intelligence and religion than you, women. A cautious, sensible man could be led astray by some of you." The women asked, "O Allah's apostle, what is deficient in our intelligence and religion?" He said, "Is not the evidence of two women equal to the witness of one man?" We've heard that before. They applied in the affirmative. He said, "This is the deficiency in your intelligence. Isn't it true that a woman can neither pray nor fast during her menses?" Her menstrual cycle. This is from Hadith Bukhari 3011 with the citation out of the Quran, Surah 2, 282. Do you all know the difference between the Quran, the surahs, and the hadiths? Okay, the surahs, allegedly, Muhammad dictated it directly from Allah. So they claim it's the most perfect scripture ever because it was given directly to Muhammad by Allah, the non-existent pagan Bedouin moon god. Right. So that would be, the surahs in Islam would have the weight of the Gospels in Christianity, okay? A little bit higher directly from Muhammad, etc. The hadiths are third-person accounts of Muhammad's life. So they would be, if you wanted to draw an analogy, it would be like the epistles in the New Testament, the letters, okay? So that's the difference, but this is one of these hadith anecdotes about Muhammad and quoting Muhammad, but it's considered holy, sacred scripture to them. So this isn't off left field, this is part of the deal. This would just be like something out of a letter, 2 Thessalonians or something like that. Now, of course, we know there's absolutely no comparison because the Bible is divinely inspired, written by men, but divinely inspired. This is crap. This is just evil crap. But I'm trying to make you understand the arguments that they would make, saying, oh, it's like the Bible. Okay? So, again, we've got this thing that women are deficient in morality, intelligence, religion. Men should avoid women because they can be led astray. Really? Really? This is the perfected revelation of Jesus Christ? That's what they claim. The same Jesus Christ who went to Mary Magdalene, who was probably a prostitute, at the very least she was an adulteress, and saved her from stoning. Go forth and sin no more. The same Jesus Christ who first revealed himself as the Messiah outside of Mary and Joseph to the woman at the well. It's the first person he told, the woman at the well, who was probably also either an adulteress or a prostitute because she was drawing water at noon. And that's who drew water at noon in the heat of the day, was the women of ill repute. That's the first person he told. Really? This crap is the perfected revelation of that? This is imbecilic. So all those evangelical churches who are thinking that they need to open their doors to Islam and be tolerant of all this, you fools, you are spitting all over Christ. You are spitting on Christ if you do that. How dare you? The least you can do is read this crap and know what you're saying, for heaven's sake. Oh, infertility in Afghanistan. This is an anecdote. And this is you can easily Google this and find this on the internet. Over in Afghanistan, we've got the military over there. We have a lot of military physicians over there. They're helping the people of Afghanistan, doing a lot of treatment and so forth. And of course, when the Afghanis get sick, who do they want to see? They want to come see the American doctors, right? Well, not long after we get in over there, in a certain camp, you start getting a bunch of men bringing their wives in, complaining, our wives aren't getting pregnant, our wives aren't getting pregnant. See what's wrong with her. There's something wrong with her, see what's wrong with her. So the doctors are actually quite interested in this because a lack of fertility can be indicative of biological or chemical warfare. So if they're hearing reports of mass infertility, these military doctors, they want to investigate this because this could be a very big deal. So they're running all kinds of tests and doing this, that, and the other. They can't find a thing. These women all appear normal to them. Finally, they start asking some intimate questions. They get some female doctors in there, and they sit down these wives, and they say, okay, we want you to tell us about when you have sex. What exactly do you do? Do you know why these women weren't getting pregnant? Because they were all having anal sex. The husbands had no idea how to even have sex with their wives. Why were the men having anal sex with their wives? Because they had been anally raped themselves as children. They had no idea. So the male doctors take these Afghani men aside and say, look guys, you're not doing it right. And they explain it to them. The Afghani men are absolutely repulsed, are just shocked, cannot believe what these American doctors are telling them, and are asking the American doctors back, you do that with your wives? That's filthy. That's filthy. These men are trained, A, to hate their wives to the point that having sex with them is only what they do in order to generate sons. That's the only reason that men want to have sex with women in Islamic cultures. That has been inculcated into them. And in some of these cultures, in this case it was a Pashtun culture in Afghanistan, the sexual perversion is so deep that men literally don't even know what to do with their wives. That's satanic. That is Satan at work. It's bad. It's really, really bad. Female genital mutilation. We've all heard of that, right? It is a massive, massive problem. In Egypt, right now, 97% of the Muslim women in Egypt have had their genitals mutilated. All over Africa, it's in excess of 90%. All of the East African, the black East African Muslim nations, this is going on. This isn't just some weird little sect thing that a few people are doing. These girls are systematically being mutilated. This isn't just some weird little sect thing that a few people are doing. These girls are systematically being mutilated as a stalwart part of this culture. It's awful. I don't know if you can see this. This is a woman's genitals. I'll try to orient you to it. It's a little bit hard to see. Here is the slit where the labia should be, okay? The clitoris would be about here. What they do is they completely cut out the clitoris, okay? And then they sew this all up. This would be the vaginal opening here. If you can see right there, there's a little darkness right there. That is actually the remaining opening that they leave to the vagina. That's it. It's like that. It's nothing. And then right here is the anus. It's about the same size. Why do they do this? Why cut out the clitoris? Because the clitoris is the center of sensation, of sexual sensation for a woman. It's the center of where the orgasmic sensation comes from. They cut it out so that a woman can never, ever, ever feel any sexual pleasure. If a woman can't feel any sexual pleasure, what risk is reduced for the man? Adultery, exactly. There's no physical pleasure from sex, so why would a woman go out elsewhere looking for sex from another man if there's absolutely no pleasure in it? But it's not just that. It's not just the fact that there's no pleasure. This is the vagina. Yeah. Copulation happens in that big. With this sewn up, can you imagine the excruciating pain? I don't know. I'm not married. But I would have to think that that would be excruciating pain. So not only is sex completely devoid of pleasure, it's excruciatingly painful. And then the question is, well, what happens when they give birth? Well, there's an episiotomy done right here. This is opened back up. She gives birth, then they sew her back up. This, and think of the filth here, okay? So the urethra is going to be somewhere up around in here, the urethra opening. How does urination happen? She urinates behind this closure. It flows down behind the closure and comes out at this opening right here, which means that there's always a harbor of urine and to some extent menstrual blood getting caught up in here. You're going to argue that this has anything to do with cleanliness, and that's what they do. Like male circumcision. They argue, oh, it's about cleanliness. Bull. This is filthy. This is going to be just a nest and a hive of infection, urinary tract infection. Disgusting. The last point. Here is the vaginal opening. Here is the anus. About the same. Why is that? Because these men are taught that anal sex with a young boy is the epitome of sexual pleasure. So they do this to their wives so that when they are forced to have sex with their wives, filthy women, that the sensation to them is similar to that of anal sex with a young boy. Yeah. And we're letting these bastards build mosques. We're going to bow to this, and they're doing this to 90-some-odd% of their women. Yeah, it's awful. You have to understand this. You have to spread this data around. This is on Google. Just go on Google, do a Google image search, female genital mutilation. There it is. Okay? This is a clitorectomy. Here's her clitoris and her labia, which have been cut out. And they proudly post this on the internet because they're proud of this. I had a woman at the last speech I did with Mara. There was a lady in the front row who said, well, do they anesthetize them? Does she look like she's being anesthetized? There he is. She's being held down with her legs splayed open, and he's got a razor blade, and he's doing it to her. Do you think she's been anesthetized? Hell no. That would take all the fun out of it, wouldn't it? Sons of bitches. This is an Indonesian child.
How old?
It's done anywhere from infancy to age 15. Most of it is done between the ages of, they say most of it's done between the ages of 7 and 11 because they really want it to hurt and they want them to remember it. Fight this with every fiber of your being. There will be no surrender. It's them or us. It's them or us. And here is this lady, she looks to be a teenager, again, being held down, screaming in agony. You can only imagine. Evil. It's evil. There's no other word. There is no compromise, nothing. It is evil. Islamic hatred of women has led to rampant homosexuality. You talk to MPs that have served any time over in the Mideast, anywhere in any Islamic country or culture, be it Arab or African or further east, they say the same thing. Number one challenge in setting up detention camps is keeping those guys off of each other. Absolutely. They are all over each other. Homosexuality is rampant in the Muslim culture. And we'll talk about later why nobody discusses this. Islam teaches by fatwa that only a submissive homosexual sins. Do you understand what I mean when I say submissive? The female equivalent partner, the dominant inserting partner, is considered not to be homosexual and not committing a sin. The submissive partner is considered to be the sinner. So it goes on all the time. Oh, the killing of al-Zarqawi. Do you remember al-Zarqawi? He was the guy who really liked to cut people's heads off on video. Bastard. We finally got him. Do you know how we got him? The Thursday night club. In this, I believe they were in Afghanistan, and they had set up camp, and there's this cadre of them. And, you know, they all hate women, and they all love men. So what they did is they had this Thursday night club, and they would take turns dressing up in drag, and they would have male orgies every Thursday night like clockwork. The way they reasoned themselves out of this is they found an imam there locally to issue a fatwa. A fatwa is a religious declaration. Any imam can issue any fatwa. There is no central organizational structure in Islam whatsoever. And if you'd like to get into a discussion with me about the glories and virtues of Catholicism, here it is. Because we have the magisterium, we have the Pope, the buck stops. Now there's people who can say things that are all kinds of wrong, but there is a central teaching authority that can say, no, that is not right. You are saying something that is wrong. I wish they'd be more aggressive, but I digress. So with Islam, there's no such thing. Every imam is his own pope. Every imam can issue a fatwa, a religious declaration. They found a clearly homosexual imam there locally to issue a fatwa, and I kid you not, I am not making this up. The fatwa stated that on Thursday nights, Allah was busy and couldn't see what you were doing. I am not kidding. Do you see what I'm talking about when I say how stupid Islam is? It's stupid. Allah is busy. He cannot see what you are doing on Thursday nights. So as long as you have your male homosexual orgy club on Thursday nights, everything's fine because Allah can't see you. That's how they got him. They all go sauntering into the Thursday night club. Here comes the daisy cutter or whatever they used. They killed him. Praise God. Man-boy pedophilia, a near universal Muslim phenomenon. Like we've already talked about this. These guys are taught that the ultimate sexual experience is having sex with a young boy, orally and or anally. That's the pinnacle for them. This is not just something that's specific to, Saudi Arabia. It's the entire Muslim world, from Morocco to Indonesia. This is a universally taught standard.
Here in the U.S. as well?
Well, if they get their way, why do you think that they're trying to normalize pedophilia through the American Psychological Association? Did you hear about that? 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, they had a meeting in Baltimore. They are taking the initial steps to remove pedophilia from the American Psychological Association's Manual of Disorders, the same way they did with homosexuality in, I believe it was 1973. They are looking to do exactly the same thing right now with pedophilia. They want to normalize pedophilia. The new meme that they're going to use is minor attracted persons. Why are they doing this? Because if you have Sharia law in this country, and Hillary Clinton in the UN, they're trying to do all this, okay? You have to clear the deck for pedophilia because child rape and child marriage is a core plank of Islam. They're trying to clear the deck from it, and they're a bunch of Marxist bastards too. And they just want to destroy any notion of morality that they possibly can. So when people said, look, if we let this homosexuality thing get into our culture, Katie bar the door, man, they weren't kidding. Here we are. We're only a few months removed from this homosexual marriage nonsense going on. Now we have moving to normalize pedophilia. Next will be incest, because incest is huge in Islam. Bestiality is huge in Islam. It's all going to go. And these things are all starting to happen as well in Europe. There are movements in Europe already to legalize incest and to legalize bestiality. You fight or you die. That's your choice.
Buy more ammo.
That's right. Long guns and ammo. We've all seen this classic image of this perverted imam kissing this boy on the mouth. Yeah, this is normal. These madrasas, these schools that these boys go to, they're just sex shops. These imams and these teachers come into these madrasas, and it's just free reign over these boys. Do you ever wonder why are they so eager to commit suicide? Well, you know what? I bet if you'd spent your entire childhood being raped, you'd probably be despairing and suicidal too, looking for something better. Yeah. The other thing I also want to point out is that the usurper, Obama, attended these madrasas in Indonesia as a child. I would not doubt at all that he was probably sexually abused some way or another. He was also, I don't know if you know this or not either, his Indonesian nanny was a transsexual. I'm not kidding. So, and we all know Obama is, of course, homosexual. Where does that come from? It comes from this. That Muslim culture, yeah, it's no surprise at all. So, you have total gender segregation. Boys are kept completely separated from girls. Boys never see, talk to, have anything to do with any females except their sisters. And then when they get to a certain age, they're permitted sometimes to act as chaperones for their cousins, and a lot of times Muslims end up marrying their cousins. But in childhood, there's total gender segregation. Okay, so you've got what? A 12, 13, 14-year-old boy. Puberty is kicking in. The sex hormones are starting to kick in. The sex drive is starting to kick in. There's absolutely no outlet anywhere for any of this. There's no healthy interaction with girls. What do? The older boys turn to the younger boys. And so this culture of abuse is just everywhere. We've already talked about the madrasas, the bachabazi. Have you ever heard of bachabazi in Afghanistan? It's an auction. They dress up little boys, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old boys. They dress them up in drag. They put them in makeup, women's dancing clothes, like kind of belly dancing clothes. And then they have basically what amounts to an auction, like a livestock auction. That's exactly what it looks like. There is a ring. These men are all sitting around this ring, and one at a time, they run these terrified little boys into this ring, dressed up in drag, force them to dance like women, and those bastard men sit there and bid on them. And whoever wins the bid takes that boy home and rapes him. It's called bachabazi. There's been, actually on PBS, Frontline did an exhaustive expose of bachabazi a few years ago. It's available online. Watch it. Only watch it once, but watch it. It is awful. You just want to grab those boys and kiss them and hug them and get them the hell out of there. Because you know what's coming, and you know what it's doing to their souls. Do we love these people? How about we save them from this evil? Quranic celebration of pedophilia. If you watch my videos, I read 3 citations about sex with boys and 1 about sex with girls. It's in the Koran. Well, that crap's in the Bible too. Oh, hell no it isn't. I've read the Bible cover to cover 4 times, every word, including the census books and the genealogy books. Every word. There is nothing in the Bible about having sex with children. That's just so evil. It doesn't even have to be mentioned. It goes without saying you don't have sex with children. But it's all over the Quran and the Hadiths. The Quran boy sex citations are 52:24, 56:17, and 76:19. Sex with female children is 65:4 in the Quran. And we all know, we've probably all heard about the fact that Muhammad married Aisha. He married her at age 6, but it's okay because he didn't vaginally penetrate her until she was 9. First of all, as if having sex with a 9-year-old girl is in any way acceptable. But don't be fooled by this. Do you think he was having sex with her when she was 6? Yes. What that is it's called thighing. And since we're all grown-ups, what is thighing? It is a man using the thighs of a little boy or a little girl as the point of friction for masturbation. Dry humping would be another way to term it. But technically, they call it thighing. And Muslim men frequently use infants and toddlers for thighing. Yes. Here's my word to all of the men, both here and who might be watching on YouTube. You are a man. You are a man. You are a man. Can any psychologically normal man maintain an erection in the presence of a child? Shouldn't be able to. We all kind of think back to the anecdotes of mommy and daddy. You know, everybody's turned in for the night and mommy and daddy are in bed and maybe there's going to be some special mommy-daddy time. And in walks in little 3-year-old, oh, I want to drink a milk or whatever, you know. And daddy just kind of, yeah. No psychologically normal man should be able to maintain an erection in the presence of a child. Not only are these men having erections in the presence of a child, they are holding children. They are holding children, babies, in their arms. And not only are they having an erection, but they are seeing it to completion. It's them or us. There is no compromise with that. There is no quarter that can be given to that. You draw your line in the sand, and if this country cannot even draw the line in the sand at that, then we will be destroyed, and we will deserve it. Pick your side. Dr. Salih bin Fawzan, member of the highest Saudi Muslim Council, just recently, I think this year, issued a fatwa declaring no minimum age for females to marry and allows husbands to vaginally penetrate as soon as the husband thinks the child can bear his weight. This isn't something from, you know, the year 700. This isn't a fatwa that was issued within the last several months. So there's no argument that, well, that was a long time. No, that's right now, you bastards. Like I said, normal men are psychologically incapable of maintaining an erection while in the presence of a child. Period. Period. Prostitution, temporary marriages, again, right out of the Koran, 424. As long as a man negotiates a dowry with a woman, he can temporarily marry her for even as short as 15 minutes. Oh, we don't do prostitution. Well, yeah, you do. You just call it temporary marriage. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining, cha-cha, okay? Prostitution is prostitution. Incest, massive problem in the Muslim world. These people are all so heavily inbred and have been inbred for 1,400 years, marrying their cousins, marrying their double cousins, uncles marrying nieces, folding the genetic dough back in over on itself over and over and over again for 1,400 years. These people are developmentally disabled. I'm not being funny. Okay? Our IQ bell curve is over here, theirs is over here. Politically incorrect? I don't give a crap. It's the truth. These people are stupid. That's why they're so gullible. That's why they're so easily manipulated by these despotic tyrannies. Because they'll just fall after anybody who says anything because they don't have the brains to think their way out of it. Another evil, satanic dynamic. Cousins, double cousins. Do you know what double cousins are? Let's say, this is a great example. We all know about Prince William just married Kate, the lovely Kate over in England. Okay, Prince William's brother is Harry, right? And Kate, she has a beautiful sister, her name is Pippa. Okay, so William and Kate are married to each other. What if Harry and Pippa married each other? That would be fine. That would be completely legal and that would be fine. That happens. It's happened throughout history where, you know, two brothers marry two sisters. There's no problem with that. In Muslim culture, two brothers marry two sisters, they have children, and then those children marry each other. That's like marrying your full sibling. Goes on all the time. Massive genetic damage for over 1,400 years. Muslims are deeply susceptible to coercion due to the lower IQ. There's good news, though. If you can break this and you can get people to start marrying outside of their family, God engineered us so that our DNA has a massive capacity to self-correct. You could fix this in a matter of just a few generations if you just get those people out from under this jackboot and let them marry who they want and live normal, happy human lives. It could come right back. We're designed with that, so it can come right back. But as long as they're trapped in this sickness, this is just going to keep going and going and going. Bestiality, oh yes. No joke. Here is quoting, Ayatollah Khomeini. We all know who Ayatollah Khomeini is, right? Back during the Carter years. Okay, here we go. A man can have sex with animals, such as sheep, cows, camels, and so on. However, he should kill the animal after he has his orgasm. He should not sell the meat to the people in his own village. However, selling the meat to the next village should be fine. This is dead serious. I like Ayatollah Khomeini's book, blah, 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 4th volume. There it is. There's a citation. You can look it right up online. Another quote from Khomeini. If one commits the act of sodomy with a cow, a ewe, or a camel, their urine and their excrement becomes impure, and even their milk may no longer be consumed. The animal must then be killed as quickly as possible and burned. Have sex with animals. Just don't sell the meat to anybody in your village. Sell it to someone in the next village. That'll be fine. This is insane. You want to call this one of the world's great religions? This is just stupid. It's stupid. And it's evil and disgusting. What's the true penalty in Scripture for a man who is caught having sex with an animal? Death. And the animal's killed too. And nobody's eating any part of that animal. Why was that portion of the law handed down? To keep crap like this from going on. The good Lord knew, and we're nipping this in the bud right here, you're not going there. You're not going to be having sex with animals. And the penalty will be swift and severe if you do. Because if you allow this crap in, the society just collapses. We're watching that right now. We're watching societal collapse happen right in our own culture. Okay? Now we understand why the Lord put these things into Scripture and just put the hammer down and said, no way, guys, no way. Necrophilia. Yeah, it just keeps getting better and better. Imam Abdelbari Zemzani, this citation, May 2011, out of Morocco. This is a very famous imam in Morocco, issued this fatwa. Since a good Muslim couple will meet again in heaven, and since the death does not alter the marital contract, it is not a hindrance to the husband's desire to have sexual intercourse with the corpse of his freshly deceased wife. Yes, this is not a joke. This is not a joke. This is for real. This is what's coming. This level of evil, sick depravity. This is what we're letting into our country. Finally, the last slide. Why won't mainstream culture, why won't the left, why won't the liberals call out Muslim sexual perversion? Why do most people have no idea that most Muslim men engage in homosexual sex? Why do we have no idea that most men in Islamic cultures engage in pedophilia? That there's this massive problem. Why won't the left talk about this? It's very simple. If you look at Afghanistan and you have a culture wherein well in excess of 50% of the men are engaging in either man-man or man-boy sex, what does that tell you about sexual orientation? It's psychological. It's psychologically conditioned. It is inculcated. What does the homosexual lobby in this country want you to believe? That it's genetic. I was born this way. It's in my DNA. If you look at the Islamic world is proof, it's objective proof staring you in the face that not only is sexual orientation not genetic, it is a cultural phenomenon. You have pockets, like I said, in Afghanistan, where in the male population, it's far, far in excess of 50% and next to zero in the female population. It is a psychologically conditioned orientation. And the homosexual leftist lobby in this country doesn't want you to know that. Their entire platform is hanging on it being genetic. It is not genetic. It's not, I was made that way. It is a psychological condition. It's tragic. It is a cross that these people have to bear. And as Christians, we are called to help them carry their cross in celibacy and chastity. I'll help you. I understand you have this problem. Maybe you were abused as a child. Maybe your father was evil and brutal to you when you were a little boy, and it pushed you psychologically in the wrong direction. There's all kinds of scenarios that you can work through that explain how this comes to be. I'm a Christian. I'll help you. I'll be your friend. I'll be there for you. If you fall, I'll help you get back up. We'll get you back, and we're going to get you to heaven. We're going to beat this. And you know what? You can help me carry my crosses too. I need your help too. I pray for you. You pray for me. I'm there for you. You're there for me. That is the Christian response.